Game 1 of this best-of-7 Western Conference Semifinals series set the stage for a thrilling showdown between two contrasting forces. On one side, the battle-tested Golden State Warriors, laden with playoff experience and championship DNA. On the other, the young and energetic Minnesota Timberwolves, a team still carving out its postseason identity. The opening clash promised physicality, emotion, and high-octane basketball, and it did not disappoint. From the opening tip, the Warriors asserted themselves on the offensive glass, a key area of advantage against a Minnesota team that relies heavily on its size and defensive discipline. Kevon Looney, ever the steady presence, wasted no time collecting a missed shot and finishing the putback for Golden State's first second-chance points. This set the tone early. Golden State was determined to win the hustle categories, a classic. Stephen Curry-Draymond Green connection came next, one that's been developed over a decade of brilliance. Steph, curling off a down screen, delivered a perfect bounce pass to Green, who slipped behind the defense for an easy bucket. The Warriors' pick-the-picker action was executed flawlessly. Curry set a back screen and then used a second screen to get a sliver of separation, just enough space for him to dissect the Timberwolves' defense. His timing and vision remained surgical. On the other end, Minnesota countered with Karl-Anthony Towns, KAT, and Anthony Edwards, who looked to attack mismatches. Edwards in particular showed patience, taking advantage of Curry on a switch. He took a beat, froze the defense with a jab step, and drilled a mid-range jumper over the closeout. It was clear Minnesota wanted to test Golden State's defensive flexibility early. Back came the Warriors. Curry, recognizing the Timberwolves had gone without Rudy Gobert during a brief rotation switch, called for a higher screen to isolate Jaden McDaniels. The move paid off. Curry created space and drained a deep three, his signature shot igniting the Chase Center crowd. The Warriors started finding their rhythm. A beautiful drive and kick play saw Curry suck in two defenders, including Draymond's man, and deliver a pinpoint pass to Green, who made the pocket pass to Gary Payton II, GP2, just as the shot clock was winding down. GP2's floater beat the buzzer. Warriors' timing was on point. With Gobert still off the floor, Golden State attacked the paint aggressively. Looney got into rebounding position, grabbed another offensive board, and kicked it out to Steph. Curry calmly dribbled to his left and fired. Bang! 3 more. The lead started to swell. As Minnesota scrambled to keep up, the Warriors began executing their offense with surgical precision. In a particularly memorable sequence, Curry and Green ran a screen action combo so smoothly it resembled choreography. Steph set a screen, slipped to the arc, caught the pass, and hit a floater. Meanwhile, Draymond, unguarded as the defense collapsed on Curry, found himself free to cut to the rim. Jonathan Kuminga added athleticism and grit, working his mid-range game with sharp confidence. He hit a fadeaway jumper off the glass as the shot clock expired, giving the Warriors yet another boost. Kuminga then followed that up with strong defense on Towns, denying the big man a clean look in the post. Back and forth the game went. Anthony Edwards, ever the competitor, answered with a Euro-step layup and then a three-pointer over Klay Thompson. But Golden State refused to yield. Curry kept his foot on the gas, curling around off-ball screens, pulling defenders his way. A miscommunication on Minnesota's part left GP2 wide open, and Steph fired the assist. Another easy layup. By this point, Golden State's second-chance points had ballooned. Curry even managed to keep a possession alive by tipping a missed shot back to Kuminga, who then got fouled on a dunk attempt. The Warriors were owning the hustle stats. As the second half began, Golden State led by a narrow margin. Minnesota came out with renewed energy. Gobert returned to the floor and the Wolves fed him inside. He managed to get 2 quick baskets and a block on Looney, momentarily stemming the Warriors' momentum. But then, GP2 flipped the script. In what may have been the defensive play of the night, Payton jumped the passing lane, stole the ball cleanly, from Alexander Walker and took it coast to coast for a contested layup, drawing the foul. The Warriors' bench erupted as Payton converted the three-point play. Draymond followed that up with a clutch corner three. Minnesota had completely lost track of him, focusing too much on Curry and Thompson. Draymond didn't hesitate. Splash. The Warriors now led by 6, and the crowd was roaring. The mental telepathy between Steph and Draymond once again paid dividends. Steph drove, 2 defenders collapsed, and without looking, he fired a bounce pass that hit Green perfectly in stride. Layup, timeout, Minnesota. Even as Minnesota tried to rally, cutting the lead down behind strong play from Edwards and McDaniels, the Warriors remained poised. Steph scored back-to-back baskets with brilliant off-ball movement and a sweet up-and-under finish. His footwork was flawless, and even elite defenders like McDaniels struggled to stay in front of him. Kuminga, then, rose to the occasion again, intercepting a lazy pass and converting in transition. The crowd chanted, "JK, JK," as he roared back on defense, swatting away a potential Towns dunk with sheer vertical explosion. By the end of the third quarter, the Warriors led by 5 points, 84-79. With 1 quarter to go, the Warriors had momentum, home court energy, and the confidence that comes with experience. The fourth quarter began with Golden State tightening its defensive screws. Minnesota started the period with Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Brandon Clark. But the Warriors' defense was relentless. DiVincenzo struggled to find space, and a late shot clock attempt was well contested by Moses Moody, who had quietly put together an excellent defensive game. Golden State then returned to their bread and butter, ball movement. Draymond at the top, Curry curling around the wing, Clay in the corner, GP2 lurking baseline. Eventually, the ball found Payton with just 1 second on the shot clock. He fired, nothing but net. A backbreaking possession for Minnesota, who had defended well for 23 seconds. Despite Edwards' best efforts, Minnesota couldn't fully regain control. He hit a tough floater, but the Warriors answered immediately. Kuminga posted up Clark, drew help, and passed to Moody, who swung it back to DiVincenzo. Open look. Bang. Warriors up by 8. Minnesota began to show signs of fatigue and frustration. On a missed 3 by Reid, the rebound fell to Looney, who quickly got it to Curry. Steph ran the break, hit Payton in stride, and just like that, the lead stretched to double digits. With under 4 minutes to play, the Warriors kept their foot on the gas. Curry continued dissecting the defense, this time finding Green cutting down the lane. Draymond finished strong and, ever the showman, did the night-night celebration that's become a signature of Golden State's late-game dominance. Minnesota scrambled to mount a comeback. Edwards hit a tough step back. Towns knocked down a 3. But every time they scored, the Warriors responded. Clay finally got into the scoring column with a mid-range jumper, and then DiVincenzo followed it up with a steal and fast break layup. Down the stretch, discipline and execution ruled the day. Golden State spread the floor, ran clock, and trusted their movement-based offense to create open looks. On one such play, Curry found Moody cutting backdoor for a layup. The ball never stopped moving, and Minnesota's defenders were a step behind on every read. The final dagger came on a Curry deep 3 with just over a minute left. He danced at the top of the key, crossed over Edwards, and launched from 30 feet. Splash! The crowd erupted. Curry did his signature shimmy as Minnesota called timeout. The final score, Golden State Warriors, 109, Minnesota Timberwolves, 98, final takeaways. Steph Curry led the Warriors with 31 points, including several clutch plays and timely assists. Draymond Green was phenomenal, recording a near triple-double with 11 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. Gary Payton II's defensive energy changed the tone of the second half. Jonathan Kuminga and Looney combined for 17 rebounds and huge second-chance moments. Anthony Edwards paced the Timberwolves with 26 points, but his effort wasn't enough to overcome the Warriors' balanced attack. Up next, Game 2 is set to take place in Chase Center, and Minnesota will need a better rebounding effort and more consistent half-court offense to even the series. But now Golden State draws first blood, and they looked every bit like the playoff veterans they are. As the game progressed into a tense stretch, the intensity ramped up on both ends of the court. Moses Moody initiated the possession for Golden State and passed it back to Gary Payton second, but the ball ended up out of bounds. The officials ruled. It was last touched by Anthony Edwards, who got a hand in for a crucial deflection, highlighting Minnesota's defensive urgency. The Timberwolves were clearly trying to disrupt the Warriors' offensive rhythm, challenging every pass and shot. With the shot clock winding down to 3, the ball found its way to Stephen Curry, who created space and launched a shot. It didn't fall, a rare miss for Steph, thanks in part to solid defense by Naz Reid, who stayed disciplined and contested without fouling. Despite Golden State dominating the glass throughout the game, the scoreline remained close, showing Minnesota's resilience. Curry's perimeter shooting, though legendary, had seen a slight dip since halftime. He hit one from deep in the first half, but hadn't found much success since. However, as always with Steph, you can never count him out for long. After a swing pass reached him at the top, Curry let it fly from well beyond the arc and buried it. The shot was pure. "Not sure there's such a thing as a bad 3 for Steph," the commentator noted, and fans nodded in agreement. On the next Timberwolves possession, Donte DiVincenzo picked up Curry on the switch, and Edwards attacked the mismatch. He drew contact while shooting and earned a trip to the line. The foul was charged to Moses Moody, and as Edwards stepped to the stripe, the crowd buzzed with energy. Edwards calmly sank both free throws. He's been consistent all season from the line, and this moment was no different. Back on the other end, Payton spotted up from deep but missed the triple. He looked visibly frustrated, knowing it was a clean look. Those are the types of shots that can swing momentum. But, as any seasoned pro will tell you, basketball is a team game, and the struggles of one shooter don't define the collective effort. Yet, the defensive cracks began to show for Minnesota. Curry sliced through the defense with ease and got to the rim for a smooth layup. "That's too easy," the announcer declared, and rightly so. The Timberwolves had overcommitted to the perimeter and paid the price inside. Curry didn't just score, he seemed to sense when the Warriors needed a boost and provided it. Moments later, the Warriors had the ball again. After a quick pass out from the paint, Curry caught it at the top of the key. With a lightning-quick release, he launched another 3. Splash. Curry was now 10 for 14 from the field and firmly in his groove. He had become the focal point of the offense, and the Warriors leaned heavily on him as the game wore on. Minnesota tried to respond. DiVincenzo passed to Edwards, who elevated for a jumper over Moody, but the shot missed. Edwards, though aggressive, was slightly off rhythm this quarter. The Timberwolves couldn't afford too many of those possessions, with the margin slowly creeping upward. On the ensuing play, the ball once again found Steph Curry, and once again, he delivered. Another 3-pointer swished through the net, and the Warriors pushed their lead to double digits. The crowd roared. Curry looked unstoppable, and even defenders as good as Edwards were left shaking their heads. Still, Anthony Edwards wasn't going to back down. He isolated at the top, attacked hard, and scored with a smooth finish at the rim. "He's really finding his rhythm," one commentator said. Indeed, Edwards had become Minnesota's primary weapon, and the Wolves knew they had to keep feeding him if they hoped to claw back into the game. Golden State answered right back. In a fluid offensive set, a wide-open 3-pointer was knocked down, pushing the lead back to 10. The ball movement was crisp, unselfish, and purposeful, something that stood out all game long. The Warriors had emphasized team play, and it showed in the assist numbers, which were stacking up. Still, Edwards remained aggressive. On the next play, he bullied his way to the rim, muscled through contact, and finished strong. "Ant-Man fighting for 2!" shouted the announcer. It was the kind of fearless downhill drive that made him such a rising star. Back came the Warriors, again. Kuminga set a screen for Curry, who passed it back to Moody. The young forward rose for a three, but it missed long. The rebound was grabbed by Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who pushed the ball up court. The Timberwolves were trying to seize any opportunity they could to run in transition, hoping to catch Golden State off guard. Edwards tried again to score, but this time Moody stood tall, contesting the shot without fouling. The ball rimmed out. It was the kind of missed chance that can swing a game. "You've got to finish at the rim right there," said the analyst, and fans in Minnesota no doubt echoed the sentiment. Despite the struggles, the Wolves kept coming. After a missed shot on one end, Edwards pulled up for a deep three and nailed it. The crowd gave a collective gasp. That cut the lead down to 5. Edwards was doing everything he could to will his team forward, carrying the scoring load as his teammates tried to find their own rhythm. As the clock ticked down, the game remained tense and tightly contested, with both stars, Curry and Edwards, engaged in a captivating duel. Golden State had the edge in execution, but Minnesota wasn't. Going away quietly, Edwards had already topped the 30-point mark and was pushing for more. The final minutes would come down to defense, rebounding, and who could hit the biggest shots under pressure. Curry's efficiency, off-ball movement, and deep shooting had built the cushion, while Edwards' fearlessness kept Minnesota in striking distance. In the final stretch of an intense matchup, the energy on the court was electric as the Warriors and Timberwolves went head-to-head in a dramatic closing sequence. Golden State's Moses Moody took control at the top of the arc and swung it over to Stephen Curry. As the crowd buzzed, Curry attempted to make a move, but a whistle blew. Foul on Naz Reid. Curry was headed to the free throw line, and for a player who shoots nearly 90% from the stripe, this was practically automatic. The commentators praised the Warriors for consistently capitalizing on their trips to the line, a factor that had helped them hold the lead throughout the second half. As Curry stepped up for 2 shots, the arena was filled with anticipation. He calmly sank the first, then followed with the second. Perfect trip. With the score padding just slightly, Curry's leadership once again showed, not just through shooting, but through poise and execution. "You can tell being a leader comes naturally to him," the announcer said. His teammates, whether veterans or rookies, followed his rhythm. Meanwhile, Minnesota made substitutions, bringing in Josh Minott and Mike Conley, while Trace Jackson-Davis and Brandon Podziemski checked in for Golden State. The rotation kept fresh legs on the floor, crucial for the game's pace. Back in action, Anthony Edwards took over. He drove the lane with power and rose for a monstrous slam, hammering it down with fury. The crowd erupted. "Wow, that's how explosive Edwards can be!" exclaimed the play-by-play voice. The highlight was immediately replayed on the AT&T 5G Slam Cam, showing Edwards' elevation and the sheer force behind his dunk, a statement play that energized the Timberwolves. Golden State responded with calm precision. Curry passed to Moody, then received it back before setting up Jackson-Davis, who calmly knocked down a smooth 15-footer. The Warriors' offense was flowing with purpose. Curry, though still efficient, hadn't taken as many shots as expected. "He needs to be more aggressive," one analyst remarked, but even when he wasn't firing away, he orchestrated the offense masterfully. At the free throw line, the Warriors remained flawless in the second half. Minnesota tried to counter at the stripe as well, and Edwards continued his stellar showing. He knocked down both free throws after drawing contact on another aggressive drive. By now, Edwards had tallied 28 points, and more importantly, he was asserting his will in pressure moments. His confidence and competitive fire were on full display. As the Timberwolves adjusted their lineup, Rudy Gobert came in for Reid and Julius Randle replaced Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The Warriors brought back Draymond Green for Moody and Butler for extra scoring. The chess match of substitutions reflected how every possession mattered. The game resumed with Podziemski at the top, passing to Curry. Curry dumped it inside to Draymond, who went up strong and finished through contact. The veteran forward was doing what he does best, contributing inside with grit and high basketball IQ. He thrives near the rim, and this was no exception. On the other end, Conley looked to involve Gobert, but Curry anticipated the pass perfectly, jumping the lane and stealing it clean. Golden State pushed the pace immediately, and Draymond sprinted ahead on the break. Curry lobbed it ahead, and Green threw it down with authority. The steal-to-dunk sequence was a prime example of Warriors' defense turning into offense in seconds. That's exactly what you want from your team: effort, anticipation, and hustle, the analysts noted. Minnesota needed a response, and it came again from Edwards. Conley passed it out to him, and Edwards pulled up from deep, splashing a critical three-pointer. That bucket gave him 28 points and trimmed the deficit. "He's been locked in this fourth quarter," said the commentator. Edwards was now not just attacking the paint, but hitting clutch shots from distance too, making him nearly unguardable. The Warriors went back to their bread and butter. Curry brought it down and passed off to Green again, but this time, Gobert defended it perfectly, forcing a miss. Conley and Gobert ran a pick and roll on the other end, but Gobert's shot was off target. Kuminga cleaned the glass, pulling down his 8th rebound of the night, a testament to the hustle Golden State was putting in on the boards. With control once again, Curry moved the ball up and found Butler, who squared up against Conley. With confidence, Butler rose and drilled the jumper, adding to what had become a standout second half for him. Butler had 12 second-half points now, and his presence had been crucial in giving Curry some offensive help. The Wolves needed to refocus, and coach Chris Finch called timeout. The energy had shifted heavily toward Golden State, and Minnesota's defense looked gassed. The team huddled, trying to regroup and strategize for the closing minutes. At that point, the Warriors were in control, not just in terms of the scoreboard, but also in momentum, ball movement, and composure. Their veterans were locked in, and their young players were stepping up under the spotlight. As the game moved deeper into the fourth, fans knew they were watching a classic. Curry's leadership, Edwards' relentless scoring, Draymond's hustle, and key bench contributions had all combined into a thrilling battle between two competitive Western Conference squads. As the fourth quarter wore on, tension hung thick in the air. Every possession mattered, and the game teetered on the edge with the Warriors holding a slim lead over the Timberwolves. After a flurry of fast-paced action, the officials called a timeout, and Chris Finch gathered his Timberwolves around. On the sideline, Allie LaForce provided a crucial update. Coach Finch is urging his team to turn up the intensity on defense. He told them, "This game will come down to who can get stops. We need more energy, right now." Coming out of the timeout, Jaden McDaniels checked back in for Minnesota, while Lester Quinones Fields entered the game for Golden State. The Timberwolves looked to close the gap, and the message from Finch was clear. It's time to lock in. On the court, McDaniels took the ball against Buddy Hield, trying to set up a scoring play. He handed it off to Julius Randle, who found himself double-teamed. With the shot clock winding down, Randle hoisted up a deep three, but it clanked off the rim. Stephen Curry grabbed the rebound, his 5th of the night, and Golden State went the other way. Curry quickly advanced the ball to Brandon Podziemski, who dished it to Jimmy Butler. Butler initiated contact, showing his signature fearlessness, and earned a trip to the line. Surprisingly, though, he missed both free throws, a rare moment from the normally dependable veteran. Still, the Warriors continued to dominate the glass, controlling the boards all night. On the next possession, Mike Conley connected with Randle once again. Randle, showing off his development and leadership, absorbed the contact and drew a foul. He stepped to the line and calmly buried both shots, trimming Golden State's lead to just 6. Randle's versatility has improved over the years, and now he's a reliable scoring threat from all over the court. But as always, the Warriors turn to their reliable superstar, Stephen Curry. After a series of quick passes between Hield and Podziemski, Curry found an opening and drained another deep three-pointer. That bucket gave him 38 points on the night and pushed the Warriors back ahead. His range, confidence, and quick release left the defense helpless once again. Minnesota wasn't done. Anthony Edwards, playing with fire in his eyes, took on the responsibility himself. He drove hard into the paint, absorbed contact, and still managed to finish. The and-one conversion brought him closer to 30 points and cut the lead back down. Golden State tried to answer again through Hield, Podziemski, and Butler, but shots started to go cold. After hitting 3 triples in the first half, Butler couldn't find the range in the second. His most recent attempt bounced off the rim, and Rudy Gobert cleaned up the glass with his 16th rebound of the game, a dominating performance on the boards. Minnesota capitalized. Edwards came back down and sank a beautiful mid-range jumper, using a soft spin to drop it through. Now the Warriors' lead was just 3. With momentum on their side, the Timberwolves dug in. Golden State countered with more motion offense. Podziemski drove into the paint and kicked it back out to Hield. Another 3 went up and another miss. The Wolves had clearly tightened their perimeter defense. McDaniel secured the rebound and gave it to Conley, who surveyed the floor with patience. With Podziemski defending, Conley attacked the lane, drew contact, and earned a trip to the line. The veteran guard sank both free throws, pulling Minnesota within 1 point. His composure under pressure gave the Wolves the spark they needed, but the Warriors didn't flinch. On the next possession, Podziemski cut through the defense with a silky floater, drawing the foul and converting the three-point play. It was a huge moment, restoring a 4-point lead and re-energizing Golden State. Edwards came right back, showing why he's become the face of the franchise. He drove at Curry, attacking the rim with speed, but this time Curry held his ground. Edwards missed the layup, and Curry came down with his 6th rebound of the game, showing his effort on both ends. On the next play, Curry found Butler, who went up for a jumper, but the shot wouldn't fall. Randle grabbed the board and immediately pushed the ball forward. A miss by Conley led to another offensive rebound for Gobert, who stayed active around the rim. Gobert muscled his way back into position and put the ball back in the hoop, cutting the lead again. The big man's presence in the paint was undeniable, and the Warriors had no easy answers for his rebounding and finishing. As the clock wound down, the game had become a back-and-forth battle of will, stamina, and shot-making. Curry led all scorers with 38, but Edwards and Conley were keeping the Timberwolves alive with relentless drives and clutch free throws. Gobert and Randle provided size and strength, while Draymond Green and Butler anchored the Warriors' toughness. Each team had found its rhythm, and now it was just about execution.